Welcome to Golden Software's video training for Strater 3. Strater 3 is a fully customizable well log, borehole, and cross-section plotting software program with innumerable ways to graphically display your data. In this video, I'll explain the use of measured depth and true vertical depth. When boreholes are not completely vertical, the measured depth and true vertical depth of the borehole are different. The measured depth is the total distance traveled along the borehole from the starting point to the bottom of the borehole. The measured depth is used in combination with azimuth and inclination information to calculate the true vertical depth, the actual depth below the starting point where a measured value should be displayed. There are three ways to enter inclination and azimuth data. A single set of azimuth and inclination data can be entered for each borehole in the collars table. The azimuth and inclination data would apply to all points throughout the borehole. The deviation or survey data does not have to have the same sample interval as the wireline or depth interval data. Azimuth and inclination data can be entered for each data point in the borehole directly into the depth or interval table as additional columns with the rest of the borehole data. Click File, New Project to open a new project. Next, click File, Load Data. In the Open dialog, click on the example data.xls file and click Open. Select the deviation survey sheet and click OK. In the Specify Worksheet Column Definitions dialog, make sure that Specify Column Header Row is checked and set to 1. Click Next. In the Specify Data Type and Column Positions dialog, set the data type to Survey. Make sure all of the columns are set correctly and click Load. The data table is loaded with a depth, inclination, and azimuth column. The depth column contains the depth or elevation of the recorded parameter. For DH-1, the depth interval is 5. Inclination is the angle the borehole is oriented in degrees and varies from 0 to 180. 0 is straight down, 90 is horizontal, and 180 is straight up. Negative and positive inclinations are treated the same. Azimuth is the compass orientation of the borehole's deviation in degrees and varies from 0, true vertical north, to 360. Click File, Load Data again and load example data.xls, selecting the depth sheet and clicking OK. Make sure that the Specify Column Header Row is checked and click Next. Make sure the data type is set to depth, single depth, and that all of the columns are set correctly, and click Load. Here we can see the depth column has an interval of 2. Return to the borehole view and create a line symbol log by clicking Log, Line Symbol. Click anywhere in the log pane to position the line symbol log. In the Open dialog, select Depth in the Use Current Table list, making sure that depth is listed in the file name option. Click Open. Click on the line symbol log in the View window or in the Object Manager to select it. In the Property Manager, click on the Line Symbol Log tab. Next to the inclination column, click on Unspecified and select From Survey Table, Deviation Survey. Notice that the azimuth column automatically is set to From Survey Table, Deviation Survey as well. When using a survey table, the inclination and azimuth columns must come from the same table. Click View, View Properties to display the borehole view properties. Click on the Measure Depth option next to the Depth method and select True Vertical Depth from the list. We will see the line log change to display the true vertical depth. I will switch the Depth method back to Measured Depth. Changing the Depth method in the View properties will change all logs except for the depth logs to be displayed using the specified Depth method. The depth scope determines how the depth on the depth log is shown and has no effect on other logs in the borehole view. Create a depth log by clicking Log Depth. Click anywhere in the log pane to position the first depth log. With the depth log selected, click on the Depth Log tab in the Property Manager. Set the depth scope to Whole Measured Depth. Next to the inclination column, click on Unspecified and select From Survey Table, Deviation Survey. I will label this log with a MD for measured depth to help distinguish this log from the other. Now we will create a second depth log. With the new depth log selected, click on the Depth Log tab in the Property Manager. Set the depth scope to Hold True Vertical Depth. Next to the inclination column, click on Unspecified and select From Survey Table, Deviation Survey. I will label this log with a TVD for True Vertical Depth to help distinguish this log from the other. Click View, View Properties to display the borehole view properties. Click on the Measure Depth option next to the Depth method and select True Vertical Depth from the list. We will see the line log change to display the true vertical depth, while one depth log displays the whole measured depth information and the other shows the whole true vertical depth. You can also convert measured depth, inclinations, and azimuth into true vertical depths in the worksheet view. Click on the Depth Table tab. Next, click Data, Create TVD. In the Convert from Measured Depth to True Vertical Depth dialog, make sure the inclination and azimuth source fields are set to Survey Table to reference the Deviation Survey Table. Select a True Vertical Depth calculation method. I will leave it set to Tangential and click OK. The True Vertical Depth will be calculated into a new column of the worksheet. This concludes the video training for Measured and True Vertical Depth in Strater 3. If you have any additional questions, please contact Golden Software.